It's week 23 of the 52-week art journal journey. This week, we're getting back into the colors and finding inspiration in the pages of picture books by Carle. If you haven't perused any of his books in a long time, or if you've never had a chance to enjoy them, I recommend checking some out at your local library, which is what I did at the library where I work. There are many enjoyable artists on the shelves of libraries' children's sections. As I've started to think more about what it is about various pieces of art and artists' styles that draw me in, two big things are color and texture. So of course, Carle is among my favorites. I mean, look at this rooster. I figured that before we take on designing our own hand-painted cut paper art pieces from our own photographs, we could learn from an expert. I also figured his style of fish is a good place to start, with a basic layout of relatively simple shapes. If you'd like to make a more complex creature, you'll have to consider things like proportion of limbs to body and the areas of large muscle that make them move, along with the colors and texture. In these fish images from his books Roosters Off to See the World and A House for a Hermit Crab, we see he used 4 pieces for the bodies and different fin layouts. You'll have to decide how you'd like to lay out your page and how many fish you'd like to make. Will they all be the same size or different? Or will you make just one? Knowing how many fish you are going to make gives you a rough idea of how much painted paper you'll need. And painting our paper is our first arty step. Notice how many different ways Carle has created different textures, and how he also created a cohesive look within his fish. He used predominantly greens in both of these schools of fish. Choose your color palette. I started with something similar to his, and get out your materials. First, paper. Use what you have. To show you how you can use pretty much any old piece of paper, I used loose leaf notebook paper and a piece torn from a newspaper page. I made lines through the paint on my newspaper. I thought it would look good for fins and be interesting with bits of text showing through. On a whim, I added in some leftover paint at the end, and loved the Monet vibes it gave. The quicker you'd like to get to cutting and gluing, the thinner your paint should be. I hope you will have some time to build some layers. While your paint is drying, you can get a better feel for how you want to lay out your page. Yes, mine changed as I went, and I ended up deciding to not only make it horizontal, but to use 2 pages. You can also take some time to journal. Did you enjoy books as a kid? Did you have favorites? Do you remember storylines or pictures better? Or both? Write about your interaction with books when you were a child. I don't know about you, but I still love a well-illustrated children's book with an engaging story. But back to our art. What else would you like to include? You may have noticed that Carle used what appeared to be simple, wavy crayon lines to give the impression of being underwater. Anything you add doesn't have to be as complicated as the illustrations in this video. You don't have to add anything at all. If you want to create a more detailed picture, there are so many options. Unlimited, really. Have fun. Whether or not it was an actual crayon, one way we can use crayon is in Watercolor Resist. I didn't end up using this as a background because the blues and greens clashed with the blues and greens of my fish. Which brings us back to our fish. Bodies in this basic fish style require 2 vaguely triangular pieces that are angled at one end to leave space for a head. They also need tails and fins in whatever arrangement you'd like. I used a white paint marker as the first step of my eye. Side note, I'm excited to be ordering my first Posca pens soon. I'll say it again, as I typically say, have fun with this week's small art. And thank you for joining me for another small art and journaling prompt. I'll be back next week with another. If you're new here, check out the link in the description to the week 1 prompt, where we made our journals and this journey our own. There will be some other fun links in the description also. If you found value in this video, please like, share, subscribe. I appreciate the opportunity to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and establish a healthy habit of creative self-care.